Hi guys, Inkyvaper here, and today we're going to be talking about the kayfun V5 from Svoemesto. Um, as some of you may know, those of you who watch Vapers worldwide or know me personally will know that I'm a bit of a fan of my sort of mouth to lungy, more kind of sedate vapes, and was a big fan of the kayfun V4, which my wife's now got because I've got the kayfun V5. So what we'll do is we'll go down, I'll show you the tank itself, and once we've done that we'll come back up and we'll talk about the pros and cons on this one. So see you in a minute. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the kayfun V5 packaging. Svoemesto on the front there, various different bits and bobs around the outside. It's a box. It's not the greatest box in the world compared to the version 4, but hey, it's packaging, so you know. First, it comes with these two little boxes inside. It's very similar to the old kayfun light boxes that they came in. Right, this is the 316L stainless steel tank section. If you can see there, I don't know if you can see it, a bit difficult with the but it's got the logo on there. Beautifully machined, everything inside is lovely and smooth. There's not a single burr, as you'd expect from Svoemesto. Beautifully engineered and finished. Extremely nice kind of slightly brushed effect on the stainless steel there, just really nice. Also in that package, in that part, this is normally on the tank when you get it, but you get a glass section in here normally. You've also got a full set of O-rings. In fact, I think there's probably getting on for 2 lots of extra O-rings in there, but you know, don't quote me on that. There's certainly enough to do a full change out. You've also got the shorter screws, which are the standard screws for your sort of normal sized wire, and then they've included some longer threaded screws which sit a little bit higher on the deck, which are used for your thicker gauges and your Claptons, etc., which is great. Nice to see that they've included spares. You had to buy them separately on the 4. So we'll just pop them in there, out the way. Okay, and this is the one with the tank in itself. Now, I've still got juice in this because I'm using this all the time, and I really didn't want to have to empty it and clean it and then start all over again. But we will sort of go in and I'll show you what the wicks look like and all the rest of it. But this has got some of my lovely Dibner's Delight by Lancashire Steam Company, which is one of my favourite e-liquids, sitting in here at the moment. And we've got the juice flow control turned off, which we'll go into in a moment. Right, so let's start with some specs on this. And I've got lip gunk all over the mouthpiece, which is lovely, so you'll have to excuse that. So I'm looking rather blurry at the moment, so let's try and focus in a bit better. Okay, so I think that's a bit better. Yeah. We have the mouthpiece here, which is an anti-heat mouthpiece. This little POM section screws off, so you can get in and inside there and clean out any excess. You sometimes get a little build up of juice in there and stuff like that, so that's nice that comes apart like that. It's a double O-ring affair. Let me just grab a cloth so I can grip it properly, because it's covered in gunk and shite, so I'll get rid of that. So there's that's the drip tip, normal standard 510 drip tip. It is quite small, but it's the same bore as the chimney, so it's, you know, it's decent enough. I'm not overly enamoured with it. I tend to use this one, which is just a little sort of stubby black Delrin job, which is a little bit wider bore. I just find it a little bit more comfortable in the mouth, but this one's still a decent drip tip. You get used to it after a while. There you can see the chimney going down the inside there, and because we've got the juice flow control shut off at the moment, I can show you the actual top refill here, the refill method. You've got, as you can see around the top of here, you've got these sort of like triangular scalloped cutouts that enable you to grip the top and just unscrew it. So I'll unscrew that. Just pop this down a second. Hopefully it won't fall over because it's full of juice. And as you can see, there is the threads that go in. Now these threads are, well, like everything on the kayfun. I'll just grab a cloth and wipe off some of this excess juice that's all over it. The threads are amazing, and as you can see, you've got these two little cutouts here, which basically they allow air to escape as you're tightening this down onto the top, right up until the last minute. So you're not getting a massive build-up of back pressure that's gonna then force e-liquid into the chamber once you open up the juice flow, which is a great, clever piece of engineering. The inside of this is flat, right? So that's something to take note of, because let's just wipe this, get that out of the way. If you can look at the top here, this is the top section here, and this is sort of sloped. Now what that does is that allows the juice, if you get any juice around this edge here, it allows it to go back into where the juice is, back into the tank. And because it's sloped and the top is flat, when you screw the top on, it's not forcing any juice that happens to be on there out of here. So when we screw this back on here, we don't get any juice like appearing out of the sides here. We've got a little bit of juice on the side there, but that's from my mucky fingers, I think. So let's just wipe that off. So that's a really great, I think, piece of engineering on the side of this. So right, we'll go up into the underneath here. As you can see, you've got the Svoemesto logo at the top there. It's an adjustable 510 pin, and then down the bottom there you've got your serial number. And as you can see, this part here is where these sort of squared off areas are what lock the airflow ring into position, and what we're going to do is we'll show you how that's changed. So in order to change the airflow, I'm going to need to actually open the tank up, because while it's closed like this, you can't actually push that airflow ring up and down, which is something quite interesting, really. So I'll just open this up like I would do normally as if I was going to vape it. So get it to there. Take that off again so that we can show you what we're doing. Make it a little bit easier for you to see. Okay, so as you can see, there's the airflow slots here and here. And if we pull, you can just grab the airflow ring and pull it up, you can see on the bottom there, there's like these little pips. Let me just see if I can bring that up and bring it into focus a bit more. Maybe a little more. There. So as you can see, we've got 4 little dots there. The 4 dots represents the widest airflow setting for the kayfun 5, and that's 3.2 millimeters, which is the widest, the most airflow that they've ever put on a standard kayfun. If you turn it this way, so if we went round to this one, this is the 3 pips. That's the equivalent of 2.7 millimeters, and that's a kayfun V4 with the 4S adaptation kit for the wider sort of airflow. Next one is 2 dots just there. Those 2 dots are 2.2 millimeter, and that's the kayfun V4 and the equivalent of a kayfun Mini V3, and I'm assuming that's at their widest setting. And then last but not least, 1 dot, which is 1.8 millimeter, which is the kayfun Lite Plus, and the Mini V2.1 is airflow. But I like it on this. I like it at the widest setting, so I'm going to just push it back down on the 4 slots, and there you go. So that's that slotted back down. Now you can do that while the mod is while the out is sat on your mod, and you can still see those pips, which is quite handy. So you can actually adjust your airflow on the fly. It's not graduated, which some people have complained about, but for me, the airflow setting on this at 4 is perfect for me. It's that lovely setting between a restricted, very restricted sort of lung hit to a mouth to lung kind of setting, and I really enjoy that kind of vaping. It's very similar in the amount of air that you get from a Svoemesto RS, or yeah, that Svoemesto RS I'd say is probably about the best on its widest setting, and I think it's actually a little bit more air than that as well. But yeah, that's how I enjoy it on mine. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to just stick this back on the mod and close it all the way down again so that we can open this up, and I'll show you the build deck. So actually, I'm not going to close it down, we're going to keep on turning the other way, but it's easier to do it while it's on the mod. So I'm going to see, it's a fair few turns to take it off. Okay, right, so just pop that to one side, and obviously you can just keep the tank that way up and it's fine. So here we have the build deck, and I'm just going to grab some. So you've got your 2 screws here, and these ledges that the wire gets trapped. It's very similar, in fact, to the RTA or RBA deck on the old Kanga Mini, because the screws just sit inside these 2 slots, and you can literally just pass your lead through there, fold it round, bring it back, and then screw down the screws, and you've got your wire nicely trapped. And if you've got a big thicker wire, you can basically just run the wire around the outside underneath these two like hooks at the front here, and that gives you the the grip that you need for the thicker wires. So I'm just going to pull out my cotton on this side, and as you can see, I've got a fair amount of cotton in here, and it does take quite a sizable amount. So as you can see there, it's sort of level with this outer ring. That's where I cut it to, and if I lift that up and out the way, you can see underneath on both sides you've got these 2 great big juice holes in the deck. That's where the juice comes in and feeds up through there. And basically all you do is you just cut your cotton to there, make sure it's nice and fluffy, and just pop it down into the build deck, making sure that you leave it nice and loose and nothing's too packed in. I'll just make sure that the other side's alright while we're at it. Okay. As you can see on the deck here, you've got you can see the insulator around, where is it? There. That's a peak insulator. Okay. So you can definitely put some quite hefty builds on this. I've had some sub-ohm builds in it. I'm not a huge fan of going to sort of sub-ohmy with an RTA of this kind. I'm more of a sort of, I like it a little bit sort of plus ohm on these kind of tanks. It's just the way I enjoy them. With this, we've got a 1.3 coil. It's a 28 gauge, around a 2.5 mil bit. I think it's 7 wraps, something like that, and that's coming out at 1.3 ohms, and I've got that running at 60 watts. 60. I don't think so. 16 watts, which is giving me more than enough vapor on this. So what we'll do is we'll just stick the tank back on. I'm covered in ink liquid now, so everything's a little bit slippery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw it on, and I'm just going to use a cloth because it's all covered in juice now, thanks to me taking the wicks out. So screwed it all the way down so that the juice flow controls are all shut off. You can see them there. There's a few little bubbles coming up, but that's just where I've forced some air out when I was doing that. Now, what we're doing is we're gonna open this up so that we can vape it. In order to do that, you need, they say to do 2 turns, but you can do a little bit more if you want to. What I tend to do is I make sure that I keep an eye on where the logo is, and I turn it twice round, and then I make sure that because I like to have the logo sort of lined up nice and level with one side or the other of the mod. I tend to sort of take it an extra turn just so that I can, you know, satisfy my sort of want for it to be even. So we'll just turn it. We'll just turn it, and then it's not doing it because everything's all slippy. Trying to turn it while it's on that. Right, so we've got it going now. So we're turning anti-clockwise to open. So that's 1 turn, and there's 2 turns. Okay, and I'm just going to take it a little bit extra so that it's round that way on my mod, and I've got the logo lined up nicely. Let's get rid of any excess juice that's there. Pop our drip tip in, and as you can see, there's the kayfun V5 all open up, ready to go, with some lovely dibners sat in there. We'll go back up top now and I'll do you the pros and cons, but as you can see there, it's a pretty snazzy looking tank. So we'll go back up top. I'll see you in a moment. Welcome back up top, guys. So that was the kayfun V5 up close. Showed you the workings of it and all the rest of it, and how I build it. I mean, we didn't go through a build, but I showed you my wicking and all the rest of it. So let's talk about some pros and cons. The cons on this, there aren't any major ones for me. I have to say I do like this, but there may be some sort of slightly subjective ones. I'm not a huge fan of the drip tip, but the drip tip is a decent one. It's not by any means the worst drip tip I've ever had. I prefer a slightly wider bore for myself, but you know, it is what it is. This is what you get with it. But obviously drip tips are drip tips. You can change those out yourself. That's not a major issue. The fact that this glass tank is quite exposed is a concern, because obviously if you drop it or knock it over, there's a good chance that that's going to break. They do sell spare glass for this at Creme de Vape, where I got mine from. I think they're about £6.95 each. I've got a couple because I'm paranoid about having broken it, and I don't like using metal tanks. I don't like not being able to see my juice. I would have liked to have seen them provide 2 glass tanks personally, but that's just me. Trying to think of anything else. Some people won't be happy with the fact that the airflow is not graduated. It's very definite settings, but I don't really mind it myself. As I said in the down low, I tend to vape this wide open on the 4-hole setting, which gives me the ability. I can still mouth to lung, kind of. It's a loose mouth to lung, or I can give you can take quite a sort of restricted, very pleasant lung hit with it. But as I say, that is going to be something that you know, isn't going to be for everybody. Now they have released a more restricted mouth to lung kit for this, which I won't be purchasing because I don't feel the need for it. And the reason for that is that some people find that the tightest setting isn't quite tight enough for them, and they've brought out these little they're like 3 little metal plugs that go into the airflow that are on the build deck, and you basically can restrict it down by 3 different increments, which I think is great. Perhaps they should have thought of that and brought that out with the tank, but I get the feeling that this kind of they decided to bring this tank out onto the market as quickly as they could, and I think as a result they rushed things slightly, and so that kind of side of things was kind of neglected. But hey, that was down, I think was down to the TPD coming out and stuff. They wanted to get this out and up and running before too many restrictions hit them, and also to do with the FDA and all the rest of it. So yeah, so those are kind of subjective cons, and I think the last one is that some people do think that this is quite a large tank. Now, I'm personally, I don't think it's that much of a huge one. I've got the Svoemesto RS next to it, which is the shortened version of the Svoemesto, and okay, yeah, with the drip tip in, it's quite a bit taller. I mean, this is as tall as the Svoemesto RS. Without it, if you took the drip tip out of the kayfun, it's as tall as the Svoemesto RS with its drip tip in it. But yeah, it's, for me, it's not a major issue. I believe they're going to be bringing it. There's people bringing out bell caps and stuff for it. There's bound to be a sort of aftermarket sort of stubby tanks and all that kind of stuff. But for me, I'm more than happy with the way that it is. I think it's a very, we're sort of going into the pros now. I personally think it's an absolutely gorgeous looking tank. I love the way it looks. I love the machining, the build quality, as I'd expect from a Svoemesto product, is absolutely top notch, second to none. Threading's all wonderful. The machining is brilliant, even down to the brushing. It's all perfectly done. The quartz tank is very, very thick and very sort of well ground, so there's no sharp edges on the tank or anything like that. And the juice flow is brilliant. I love the way that it works. It's really easy to adjust, so long as you get those, as we talked about in the up close. Make sure that those O-rings around the bottom of the build deck there are nicely juiced up, because if you don't have them juiced up, they will stick. Especially if you sort of over close it or over open it, you'll more over close it. If you really do crank it when you're closing off the juice flow, and it does have a little tendency to sort of stick, and you can end up unscrewing the tank, sort of like taking off the top instead of actually, so unscrewing the top part from the chimney instead of actually taking the whole tank off. But that's more down to just knowing how much that you need to lube those O-rings, especially once you've just cleaned it. You need to make sure that you get plenty of juice on that, so that it's sorted. But the juice flow is excellent. I've had this is 70/30 PG, 70 VG 30 PG e-liquid in here. That's Dibner's Delight from Lancashire Steam Company. I've had 80/20 in here, perfectly okay, no problems at all. So the juice flow works, and it works well. In sub-ohming, you can run it sort of 30-40 watts quite happily, and it keeps up nicely with all sorts of different e-liquids in there. So I'm really very impressed with the juice flow side of things. And of course, one of the main reasons for having any of these kind of RTAs is the flavour, and the flavour coming off of this thing is absolutely amazing. The more fruity juices seem to shine more in this RTA. I mean, this custard. This Dibner's banana custard pie is very nice in here. It's a juice that I vape all the time, so I know how it tastes. It tastes exactly like it should. But stuff like lime kiln and some of the more sort of citrusy juices that I've put through this have been really crisp and really clean, and just, it's the best I've ever tasted. This tank is the best I've ever tasted lime kiln in. It just really does. It really does bring out those fruity notes in any of the fruity liquids, and I've really enjoyed vaping it. Vapor production is obviously build dependent, but you can, even with this 1.3 ohm build at 16 watts, I'm getting quite a plentiful amount of vapor. And the flavour, like I say, is just on point. It is really, really good. Now, it's £96 or thereabouts. Let me just check, see what that actually is. Yes, £96.95 from Creme de Vape, which are the UK stockists of this tank. The Svoemesto official dealers in the UK, and that's who I bought it from. Brilliant customer service from those guys. It's £96.95 is more along the lines of what they first charged for the old Kayfun Light Plus when it first came out. Obviously they dropped down in price a fair bit, but under the £100 mark I think is very good for this tank, especially as the Kayfuns are always in that kind of higher end bracket for RTAs. And what I love about it is like the Svoemesto, they've gone glass with the tank. There's so many of these higher end RTAs that they have PMMA tanks. I don't want PMMA. If I'm paying out that kind of money, I want a glass tank so I can vape whatever juice I want and not have to worry about cracking anything and don't have to worry about the PMMA threading and all that kind of stuff. If I'm paying, this kind of money for a tank, I want glass, and that's what we've got here is lovely quartz glass, very well made. I think it's a cracker, as I said before. I think it's an absolutely beautiful tank. I know I'm kind of sort of gushing a little bit about this, but I absolutely have fallen in love with this tank. I was telling one of my friends the other day that I'm actually considering buying another one of these, just purely because I absolutely fucking love it. Since I've had it, I have not gone a single day without this being one of the main devices, one of the main sort of atomizers that I've been vaping on, which for me is quite unusual. Because especially if I'm at home, I tend to sort of swap and change, and I've just been finding myself picking this up, sort of day in, day out. Even sat in front of the telly, I've been picking this up where I would normally be on my drippers and stuff like that. And that for me is a testament to how much I enjoy the vaping on this. Like I say, I'm vaping it at quite sort of sedate wattage, quite high ohms, and I love it. It's just really, really nice. So, in conclusion, if you've had Kayfuns and you weren't happy with the restricted draw on them because it was a bit too tight, I think a lot of us have kind of graduated into a much more sort of open airflow than we used to have. Even the mouth to lung brigade have kind of gone a little bit sort of airier than they used to. Then this is definitely the tank for you. If you were a Kayfun fan and you enjoyed the really tight restrictive airflow on it, then you may want to get one of these and get the restriction kit so that you can actually take it down a bit, because I do find even on the lowest setting, I don't personally find it as tight a draw as the Kayfun Light was, or the Kayfun Light Plus. I do think there's just a little bit more air there than they were expecting, and I think that's probably got a lot to do with that the airflow that goes underneath the coil, because it is quite wide. So they've brought out those restrictors, and you can put those in and really sort of take it down. £96.95 is a lot of scratch for a tank, but in my opinion, this tank is worth every single penny, and like I say, I am seriously contemplating buying another one of these because I absolutely love it. So I'm starting to repeat myself here. Well worth it if you're into your sort of more high-end gentlemanly vapes, as Dean would put it. Then this is definitely something that you want to be looking at, and I can't speak highly enough of the flavour and the vape that I'm getting off of this. It's just perfect, joy to build on as well, which is, it makes it even better. It's far easier to build on than the Kayfun 4 was. So we'll leave it there. If you want one of these, I'll put a link down below for the Creme de Vape where I bought it, and you can have a look at their prices and stuff. In the meantime, if you've liked the video, please take a bit of time and press the like button for me. And if you're not already, please click on the subscribe button, and you'll get notifications on my further videos. Also, what I would like to say is thank you to everybody who's made comments in the past on all my other videos. If you want to make a comment, by all means do stick a comment down below, and I'll try, if you've got any questions or anything like that, I'll try and answer those for you. But again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.